In-Depth Radio, News Talk 1010.
The man speaks the truth. Off the top, we're going to deal with something I heard a lot about over Christmas, and this station's talked a lot about, sort of. The Sony hack, okay? This stupid movie, and I say stupid because I've read the reviews. Nobody cares about the actual movie, The Interview. But I've talked about it on this station. Other shows have been talking about the hack of Sony, ostensibly by North Korea, okay? We'll get to your thoughts later on this, and I want you to start revving your engines now to call and text in about this. Call 416-872-1010 or star talk on your cellular device. That's star 8255 for the benefit of BlackBerry users, or text me at 71010. Here's the question I have for you about the Sony hack in North Korea. I've heard, even today, just talking to Mike Bullard and Victor Mack, we heard among the three of us, we had like half a dozen theories as to who actually hacked Sony. And I want to hear from you. Who do you think actually hacked Sony? Because now a lot of security outfits are backtracking, say it wasn't North Korea that hacked Sony. And this doesn't surprise me. Right? They barely have computers in North Korea. It doesn't surprise me if it wasn't North Korea. I've had people suggest to me Sony themselves, the management of Sony, hacked North Korea as a marketing ploy for this dopey, stupid The Interview movie. I've further had it suggested to me that it was disgruntled employees at Sony who hacked the Sony movie and released it. And then I've also had it suggested, in fact, it was suggested in the New York Times today, and don't judge too harsh. I don't normally read the New York Times. I pressed on a link and it sent me there. The New York Times has suggested that perhaps it was the Russians who hacked Sony and made it look like the North Korea. Anyway, if your Christmas is anything like mine, and maybe you had more sort of holiday festive conversations, you've been talking about the Sony hack. And if you've been listening to the station, you've been talking about the Sony hack. So I want to know what you think. Who hacked Sony? Was it the Russians? Was it a disgruntled or gruntled employee of Sony? Was it Sony themselves at the management level, or was it really North Korea like they've been saying? And this leads us all to a chance for me to learn something I don't know anything about. And that is clouds in general. The way in which Sony was hacked, the emails, the celebrity emails and all the rest of it, and this dopey movie was the cloud. You know about this? You heard about this? The cloud. It's a way in which you keep all your, I'm going to let our guest explain it, but the cloud is keeping all your information as a group or a company in a cloud. But before I trip over myself on that, I want to bring in somebody who can explain to us the notion of the cloud from a security perspective, from a marketing perspective. It has relevance to what happened at Sony. And I'm speaking, of course, of Marc Rudov. Now, Marc Rudov is a branding advisor to CEOs. He's the author of Be Unique or Be Ignored. Fantastic title. It's the showgram of book titles. Be Unique or Be Ignored, the CEO's Guide to Branding. He wrote in this book and in several articles that the cloud makes no sense. Having your stuff as a corporation or anything as a cloud, dopey. He says the Sony hacking debacle points to this, and he says it's just the latest in a series of hacking incidents, JP Morgan, Home Depot, Target, so on and so forth. Marc Rudov joins us on the phone from California. Marc, how are you, sir?
Great, Theo. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. I'm out of breath after going through all your bona fides introducing you, but I'm so glad you're able to join us.
I am too, and I have one question. Is it cloudy in Toronto?
Well, it was for a while, but now once the showgram is on, the sky's always part. I swear this program is blessed. It's absolutely blessed. Do me a favor, Marc, right off the bat. For people who are Luddites like me, in a couple minutes before we break for traffic, let me know what exactly the cloud is.
And don't forget, you can find me at marcrudov.com.
All right. Well, we don't overload the system too quickly, everyone going there. Marc Rudov, okay. Rudov, Marc with a C, right?
Correct.
marcrudov.com. Now, explain to us as though you were speaking to a child or a golden retriever, and tell us what the cloud is.
First, I'm glad you asked me, because there's no such thing.
Okay.
A cloud is nothing but a building full of servers, cables, switches, and disk drives. That's it. There's no such thing as a cloud. It's nothing new. It's just a new name. But it's nonsensical, as you said. First of all, from a branding perspective, when you brand something, which means you create a value proposition for something, you want it to be as sharp and to the point as possible, like the tip of an arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
The cloud is the opposite. It's nebulous. Have you ever heard of somebody say, he has clouded judgment? It's a negative word. You don't use negative words when you brand. The other problem with cloud is it's generic. If every company uses the word cloud, it has no meaning. Just as your station is CFRB.
Yeah.
There is no other station called CFRB. It is unique. That's why I wrote a book called Be Unique or Be Ignored.
All right.
From a security perspective, when you put everything you own, all of your corporate assets, away, as far away from your building as possible, you leave yourself vulnerable. Do you remember the Seinfeld episode?
Yeah.
When Jerry Seinfeld discovered that his dry cleaner was wearing his clothes.
Of course, we did a whole Festivus show. I know all about what happened on Seinfeld.
But the point is, when you put your data out there in cyberspace, think of your hacker, your local hacker, as the dry cleaner who's going to wear your clothes.
Right, and you know something?
Look at your data and steal your data.
As you have suggested, Mark, what happened with Sony brings that home. Now, I'm going to stop you right there because I got some specific questions for you pertaining to Sony, pertaining to the cloud in general. I'm learning about the cloud. I'm learning about it from the guy who knows the most about it. His name is Marc Rudov. You can find him at marcrudov.com. That's spelled MarcRudov.com. He is the author of Be Unique or Be Ignored, the CEO's Guide to Branding. Here's what we're talking about. First of all, I'm having him explain to Luddites like me, and Luddite, by the way, and they never got named Lud, who didn't believe in modernity. It refers to people like me who are late adopters for everything. We don't do technology. We still have a rotary mobile phone, which is why I can't do Star Talk, Star 8255. And we're asking, first off, what's the cloud? And Mark is walking us through from a branding and security perspective what a cloud is, that a lot of organizations, maybe where you work, use, okay? They use a cloud to keep all their data and information. And Marc Rudov on the phone avers that both from a branding perspective, it's a bad idea because you are not distinct if all your information's a cloud. And secondly, in a brilliant analogy, Marc Rudov has brought Seinfeld into the discussion, which we love to do on the guest-hosted showgram, following on the heels of our Festivus extravaganza on December 23rd. And he said, the Seinfeld episode where Jerry discovers that the dry cleaner is wearing his clothes, that's what it's like to have your clothes, your information on a cloud. And we've seen it with dramatic results in the Sony hacking case. Your information, your organization's information is not secure when it's on the cloud. Mark, how did I do summarizing all that?
I think you did an excellent job, but I will point out I am not the world's expert in cloud computing, but I'm probably the world's expert in telling why it's dumb.
All right. Well, listen to me.
And so you explained it brilliantly.
You are come on. Let's not get hysterical. You are the expert in this conversation, all right, my friend?
Okay.
All right. Now, you had said from a brand, just unpack one more thing for me before I get to North Korea and Sony with you. Why? Why is it a big deal from a branding perspective not to have your stuff in a cloud? Why does a customer even know if your stuff's in a cloud or on a
No. What I meant from a branding perspective, it's dumb for every vendor to use the same word.
Okay.
iCloud, eCloud, OCloud, eCloud, whatever. If every vendor, does every car manufacturer sell a Ford?
Yeah.
No. You have to have some uniqueness to your business. And if you use jargon, you're not branding.
Mm-hmm.
Jargon is for the weak-minded, for the people who are afraid to stand out, because jargon is safe.
Yeah.
Jargon is inside baseball.
Yes.
But when you're using jargon, you're speaking in vendor language. You're not speaking in customer language.
Mm-hmm.
And customers do not buy products. Customers do not buy technology. Customers buy benefits, solutions, and value. So the thing about technology is it's ephemeral. Here today, gone tomorrow. It is a means to an end. So when you are delivering value to a customer, the customer really doesn't care how you deliver it as long as you're delivering it. So to be using products in your messaging, you are producting. You're not branding. And branding is all about value statements, not technology statements.
Setting yourself apart. Got it.
Right.
Now, I'm going to ask you.
There's no distinction between vendor A's, B, C, D, E, and F if each one is using. And on top of that, the jargon being used in this case is nebulous.
Yeah. All right. Nebulous is important because nebulous is a synonym for cloud. And what you aver, Marc Rudov, is that everybody should break out the thesaurus, find a different word for cloud. Now, I do, as promised, want to ask you about Sony and the hack, but we've got to take a very quick break and we'll be right back. We do thematics around here, and we're talking about the internet, we're talking about cybersecurity, and we're talking about the cloud, and we're talking about it with the world's leading and most handsome expert on the topic, Marc Rudov, author of Be Unique or Be Ignored, the CEO's Guide to Branding, marcrudov.com, Marc with a C, Rudov with a V. Marc, thanks for joining us all the way from California.
It's great to be here.
Okay, I got to ask.
And I'm enjoying this topic.
Yeah, me too. Now I got to ask you about Sony. Now, before the break, you were saying that using the term cloud, just as a sheer matter of linguistics, is just stupid because everyone says the same thing, and every company it sounds the same, such that you can't distinguish yourself and brand. Right. Right.
So I just would like to reiterate from the branding perspective, it's dumb, and from the security aspect, and Sony proved this, it's dumb. Yeah. So I just want to interject here before we get more into Sony. Yeah. If you're the CEO of a technology company listening right now, what you should be thinking about, and let's borrow from Seinfeld again, when George's life was totally screwed up, he decided the only way to succeed was to do the opposite.
Yes, opposite George.
So what is the opposite for the opposite of putting all of your data out in cyberspace? It's putting it inside your company. So if you're the CEO of a technology company, you should be thinking of new ways to do on-premises computing, on-premises storage, and forget about putting it out there and pretending that nobody's going to hack it. Because now we learn today that Xbox and PlayStation, those networks have been hacked too. It's going to keep happening. So cloud computing is dead. RIP. Move on. Go back to on-premises safe computing.
Okay. All right. Good. That's advice. That is a word to the wise. Now, in the couple minutes we got left on this, I want to get your theory on Sony. You've talked a lot about it. It ties right into your book, Be Unique or Be Ignored, CEO's Guide to Branding, at least from the perspective of cloud computing and security. You heard me at the top of the broadcast, Marc. Everyone's talking about who actually did the Sony hack, and I am on board at least with the people who say it wasn't North Korea, because North Korea, they don't have anything over there. Like, they barely got kerosene lanterns. Who do you think did the hack?
I really don't know. I heard all of your theories, and I also recognize that North Korea has very limited IT infrastructure. But
that's one way to put it. Go ahead.
North Korea does work with the Chinese, and the Chinese have hacked the U.S. government left and right. So they could be in cahoots. But you know what? What I would say is it doesn't really matter who did it. It only matters that somebody did it and that it's possible. Yeah. And that I heard the head of the FBI on TV on 60 Minutes about a month ago. And he said, if you're an American corporation, you either have been hacked or you're about to be hacked. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something, and it's the FBI and other security organizations now who are saying it wasn't actually the North Koreans who did it. I take your point, Marc. It doesn't really matter from the perspective of what you're telling us who did it. It just points out the vulnerability of cloud computing. I get it. But there's a lot of other stuff involved in this. Like, Sony caved. The President of the United States decided to condemn Sony for caving.
Correct.
And then the U.S. Intelligence Service at least gave the President and everybody else bad information. So anyway, it's going to be an ongoing story. We're going to follow it. We may get back to it later in the broadcast. But for now, I want to say thank you to Marc Rudov, author of Be Unique or Be Ignored, the CEO's Guide to Branding. Find him at marcrudov.com. That's Marc with a C, Rudov with a V. Marc, thanks for joining us, and happy Boxing Day, my friend.
And to you, Theo. It was great being here.
All right. Speak to you soon.